here, a powerful civilization, millions of people, massive cities rising above the jungle. The next day, they were gone. No war, no bodies, no explanation. Entire cities abandoned, temples left unfinished, homes left behind, as if something forced them to disappear overnight. This is the story of the Maya civilization and one of the greatest mysteries in human history. Long before modern civilizations rose in Europe, deep within the dense jungles of Central America, a powerful and mysterious world was forming. This was the domain of the Maya civilization. Their origins trace back over 3,000 years to small agricultural communities scattered across what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. At first glance, they seemed simple, farmers cultivating maize, beans, and squash. But beneath that simplicity, something extraordinary was developing. Over generations, these villages expanded into vast urban centers. Cities like Tikal, towering above the jungle with massive pyramids, Palenque, filled with intricate carvings and royal tombs, Copan, a center of art, astronomy, and royal power. These were not random settlements. They were carefully designed cities, aligned with celestial movements, built with purpose and precision. The Maya developed one of the most advanced writing systems in the ancient world. They recorded their history, their rulers, their wars, carved into stone monuments that still stand today. But perhaps their greatest achievement was their understanding of time. They created complex calendar systems, tracking solar years, lunar cycles, and planetary movements. Their knowledge of astronomy was so precise, it continues to amaze scientists even today. This was not a primitive society. It was intelligent, organized, deeply connected to both nature and the cosmos. To anyone witnessing it at its peak, it would have seemed eternal. Life in the Maya world was both structured and deeply spiritual. At its foundation were the farmers. They worked tirelessly, cultivating the land using advanced techniques like terracing and irrigation. Every harvest mattered because survival depended on it. But beyond agriculture, Maya society was rich with culture and complexity. Cities were alive with activity. Markets bustled with trade, bringing goods from distant regions, obsidian blades, jade ornaments, woven textiles, all moving through an interconnected network of exchange. Art flourished. Murals painted vivid stories of gods and kings. Sculptures captured moments of power and mythology. Architecture itself was a statement. Massive pyramids rose into the sky. Temples aligned with the sun and stars. Plazas designed for gatherings and rituals. Nothing was sluchaini. Everything had meaning. Religion was at the core of everything. The Maya believed the universe operated in cycles, and that balance had to be maintained between humans and the gods. Rituals were not optional. They were essential. Offerings, ceremonies, and in some cases, human sacrifice were seen as necessary to sustain the world itself. At the top of society stood the kings, not just rulers, but divine figures. They were believed to communicate with the gods, to interpret signs from the heavens, and to ensure balance in the world. But this power came with immense pressure. If crops failed, if drought struck, if disasters occurred, the king was responsible. And in a civilization so deeply tied to nature, that responsibility could become dangerous. Then, something began to go wrong. Around the late 8th century, the signs of decline started to appear. cities that once thrived with activity began to lose their energy. Then, the decline accelerated. Entire urban centers started to empty. Temples were left unfinished. Plazas became silent, and people began to disappear. This wasn't just one city. It was a pattern. Across the southern lowlands, city after city was abandoned. So what caused this? One of the strongest theories is prolonged drought. Scientific evidence suggests that the region experienced severe climate shifts, with years of minimal rainfall. Water reservoirs dried up, agriculture collapsed. Without food, the system began to fail. But drought alone doesn't explain everything, because even in difficult conditions, civilizations usually adapt. The Maya didn't. There is also evidence of internal conflict. As resources became scarce, competition increased. City-states that once coexisted may have turned against each other. Wars erupted, not large-scale empires clashing, but repeated destabilizing conflicts. At the same time, population pressure was rising. Too many people, relying on limited resources. Forests were cleared for farming. Soil became exhausted. The land could no longer support the population. And then, everything began to collapse at once. Food shortages, political instability, environmental stress, a perfect storm. The system didn't fail slowly, it broke. And when it did, people had no choice but to leave. By the time outsiders would one day arrive, the great cities of the Maya were already gone, swallowed by the jungle. Massive pyramids covered in vines, temples hidden beneath layers of earth and time. What was once a powerful civilization had become a ghost of the past. But here's what makes this story even more unsettling. The Maya people did not completely disappear. Millions of their descendants still live today. They speak ancient languages. They preserve traditions passed down for generations. So, the people survived, but the civilization did not. And that raises a deeper question. Why were these cities abandoned so completely? Why not rebuild? Why not return? Why leave behind monumental structures? That took generations to create. Some researchers believe the collapse was psychological as much as physical, a loss of faith. If the kings could no longer communicate with the gods, if the rituals no longer brought rain, then the entire belief system may have shattered. And when belief collapses, so does the civilization built upon it. Even today, new discoveries continue to emerge. Hidden cities revealed by modern technology. Ancient inscriptions decoded piece by piece. Each discovery brings us closer to the truth, but never the full answer. Because the fall of the Maya is not a single event. It is a puzzle, a combination of nature, human decisions, and forces we may never fully understand. And perhaps that is the most chilling part of all. Because if a civilization this advanced, this intelligent, this deeply connected to time and the universe could collapse, then no civilization is truly permanent. What if they didn't disappear? What if they survived, not in their cities, but somewhere else? Because the truth is, the Maya never truly vanished. Millions of their descendants still live today, speaking the same languages, carrying the same traditions. So maybe the real mystery isn't where they went, but why they chose to leave everything behind. We'll never know the full truth. Why the great cities were abandoned. Why millions simply disappeared. No final message. No clear ending. Just silence, buried deep The Maya understood the stars. They measured time itself, but even they could not escape collapse. And that raises a question. Could something like this happen again?